remember, even in England, Winston Churchill, World War II was drunk most of the time. Our president, Roosevelt, was in a wheelchair. And our president, Eisenhower, who won the Supreme Allied Commander, who won the European front, had several heart attacks in his first term. And people were saying, oh, he's finished. Well, he got reelected and did his whole
This isn't a CV that inspires lots of confidence, though, is it? Saying, previous people have overcome significant health challenges. We'd like to know that the person who's the leader of the United States is totally fit, fighting, healthy. Bob Mulholland is member of the Democratic National Convention for California, is an old friend of Joe Biden. Bob, what did you make watching Joe Biden's performance?
Well, I will say this, that neither of these candidates broke out tonight. I think it was a wash. And as a Vietnam veteran, I just get cringe when Trump says that he never called us losers or suckers. And let me remind your audience on Afghanistan. In 2016, Trump ran as president, and he said he would end the Afghanistan war right away. Well, Trump dithered for 4 years, 68 American troops killed, and then Trump gave a peace deal to the Taliban that was one-sided. And the reason Trump never got us out of Afghanistan, he wanted to leave it to the next administration, because everybody knows these kind of situations, whether Vietnam that I served in or some of these other wars, they're never easy to leave a country. But that's Trump's fault. He's the one that cut the deal with the Taliban and promised the American people will be out there in 2017. Now, as far as President Biden, could he have done better? Absolutely. But I'm still thinking that Trump was answering a question and he said, when I was president, we had H2O. And I'm trying to still think, what the heck was Trump talking about? H2O, okay.
I mean, there was actually a moment where Donald Trump had to say of Biden, I'm not sure what you're talking about, and I'm not sure you are sure either. I just want to quickly, a fact check on when Biden said no troops had died under his administration. That is not true. 3 US service members were killed in a drone attack in Jordan in January this year, and during the US withdrawal from Afghanistan in August of 2021, 13 US service members were killed. We're going to try and fact check some of the other claims throughout this debate. But I want to get back to the critical issue at heart. Your colleagues right now, Bob, the Democratic Party are, I think it's fair to say, concerned about Biden's performance tonight. I mean, watching it from even the first sort of 10 minutes, he was losing his way, correcting himself on numbers, sometimes just trailing off. I mean, how would you assess how he performed?
He could have done better, but I just want to remind your listeners that both these candidates wandered off. In fact, Trump never even answered a lot of questions about child care and stuff. And on this Afghanistan...
But the skill is sometimes often not answering the question, isn't it? The thing is, when Trump did it, he was fluid in his communication, whereas with Biden, there were stutters and pauses, and sometimes it looked like he was confused.
Well, I saw them both a little confused. My view is that the number one Achilles heel for Trump is women on the reproductive rights. For instance, Trump, even tonight, last night's debate, he took credit for overturning Roe. So women all over the country are running. And Trump's people are talking about putting people who drive a woman from one state to the next to get an abortion, unnecessary abortion, he put them in jail. Hey, I'll just remind your listeners this. In 1984, the first debate between President Reagan and Walter Mondale, the political pundits the next day said Reagan was done for. Reagan went on to win 49 states. So I don't pay much attention to the pundits. Clearly, my view, nobody knocked the ball out of the park tonight, and we got a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think when it came to abortion rights, we saw sort of more fire from Biden at that point. And you can kind of see maybe echoes of him 4 years ago when he got quite angry with Donald Trump. The question is, for the Democrats right now, there's a question to be asked. I mean, we're hearing from the camp that, aggressive panic has set in among some people. If you're going to do something drastic, and it really would be drastic at this point, and change candidate, now would be the moment to do it. I mean, Bob, you seem to be very, very cautious of even attempting to ask that question or answer it.
Well, just to remind everybody, our system, the American system, it had primaries and caucuses, mostly primaries, and we have our nominees. Yes, it's true. A lot of Americans say, God, I wish both these candidates were younger. Well, they're not younger. One wants to turn over to the states every possibility of putting women in jail. The other had made it clear tonight, President Biden, he's going to pass a national constitutional amendment to protect women's Roe v. Wade. Remember, even in England, Winston Churchill, World War II was drunk most of the time. Our president, Roosevelt, was in a wheelchair. And our president, Eisenhower, who won the Supreme Allied Commander, who won the European front, had several heart attacks in his first term, and people were saying, "Oh, he's finished." Well, he got reelected and did his whole way.
This isn't a CV that inspires lots of confidence, though, is it? Saying, previous people have overcome significant health challenges. We'd like to know that the person who's the leader of the United States is totally fit, fighting, healthy.
Yes, but most leaders around the world tend to be older and tend not to be as healthy. Even President Kennedy, who was our youngest president, was not very healthy. Not that anybody knew that. As long as Joe Biden stays sharp when he's meeting with the staff, when he's meeting with Congress, we'll be in fine shape. We have a convention for the Republicans next month. We have a convention for the Democrats, and I'm a Biden delegate August 19th week in Chicago. And all indications are both parties will nominate these two older men.
I mean, you've said he needs to stay sharp. It was quite early on where I think it would be hard to argue that was it. Let's have a listen.
We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system.
I mean, Bob, would you say it was sharp?
I'd say it was factual. Look, he's not an actor like Ronald Reagan. I thought what he said there was absolutely true. And this is a debate in the fall that Trump has promised the billionaires another tax cut. Well, we America cannot afford any more tax cuts. We're heading to $35 trillion in debt. Most of it more so under Trump than any other president, because when he gave away so much money to the 1% of the America's wealthiest, he took away the rights of the rest of us having a better life. And even our troops, Trump one day said when he was president, I just gave the troops 10% pay raise. It was 2%. Wasn't even keeping up with inflation. Well, President Biden has increased their pay for all the members, and we only have less than 2 million in the military. I think this battle will continue. We didn't hit any home runs at the debate, but we got a long way to go.
Bob, the issue is that the logic or the facts may be right, but if the delivery doesn't inspire confidence, it won't inspire confidence in the people.
Well, that's a challenge that both sides have. I think the debate showed plenty of clips both sides can use in TV ads, and that's going to reach more people than a debate. I don't know how many people watch the debate, but I doubt if any swing voters watch the debate, especially in the summertime. They might start tuning in October. So yes, we do need something along the line, maybe Biden throwing a football in the backyard of the White House, then the voters will say, okay, the guys can still throw a football.
If you were going to I wonder if you were going to choose a clip that was going to best illustrate the strength of the Democratic campaign, what moment would you pick?
I think it would be on Trump and talking about how proud he was of overturning Roe v. Wade. And I think we, the Democrats, have plenty of women in America who have gone through difficult times, especially older women before Roe v. Wade, who maybe had, their best friend left high school for 2 weeks, and then they found out later she had an abortion because she was raped by their favorite quote unquote teacher. There's a lot of those kind of stories, and I think that's ultimately where we win. Absent, an all-out war somewhere else. Obviously, the Ukraine war and the war in Gaza are factors that hurt, in my opinion, Democrats, because the American people couldn't find either one of those countries on the map, and they never quite understand why we involved in wars. We're not historians on this side of the ocean.
Bob, thank you. Bob Mulholland, member of the National Democratic Convention for California and an old friend of Joe Biden.